This is going to be a bit of an ant rant. No, not the ant that my brothers used to me ranting about. That would be the Blazers ant. They drive me ballistic, man. I hate them with a passion. And I wish they did not exist. But here's the fun thing about them. They are technically useless at this point. Because let's just be honest about ants for a minute. A, they proliferate like a mofo. Way more and infinitely more than the infamous rabbits do. I mean, they just... And on top of that, they are such pests to the extent that they get in all of our homes, they get in apartments. It doesn't matter if you keep everything pristine clean, they'll probably still end up haunting you. These suckers originally, and still I suppose are, used dominantly, their purpose, I should say, is dominantly to be part of the cleanup crew. They're there to help not just break down, but actually eat and remove a lot of decaying matter. Specifically and especially, well, at least the species that we're talking about, because the ones that we're talking about are the little black ants, whether you call them sugar ants, farmer ants, or little black ants, or whatever else, the most common form of ant that you find, again, all around cities and really everywhere. These ants are so infuriating because they are so useless, because they're everywhere, yet they sure, they still clean up some things, but think about the efficiency of them as an existing species in the cleanup world. There is basically none, because they have to have so many of them, all on like one small piece of food, in order to eat it all and break it down, and it takes them a long time to do it. Whereas you have a endless array of other living beings that are part of the cleanup crew, the janitorial group, basically, the garbage men of the, of the natural world, that are infinitely more efficient, including on their own. The main ones that people are going to think of, especially when it comes down to, urban areas, is going to be possums, coons, it's going to be crows, ravens, vultures, coyotes. Coyotes are definitely one of them. Coyotes are probably damn near the top of the scavenging department and the opportunist department. They're such good cleanup crews. But like, you have endless amounts. Even bears do scavenging and cleanup sometimes on roadkill and things like that. I mean, you have so many different birds alone that are cleanup crew. They're scavengers. They favor roadkill, so carrion. They favor garbage. They favor all this different stuff, even sometimes sewage based things. And they love it. They're a huge part of it. In the fish world, there's a lot of them. One of those creatures is catfish. They are fucking delicious. And I won't hear otherwise. I love catfish. They're some of my favorite eating fish in the world is cats. I love catfish. But even your household pets are the same way. Our domesticated dogs, most of them love gross, disgusting things. But it's because they are naturally inclined to want to help clean up a lot of the stuff. If they're not going to hunt, they've been domesticated, so they're a lot more docile, and as a result, they're a lot less inclined to attack and to hunt, and a lot more inclined to, well, let's face it, be kind of lazy. We've incentivized that through genetics and just how we've treated them for as long as they've been around. We pamper the life out of them, we spoil them to no end, so of course, naturally, they just expect to be fed. Of course, if you leave a lot of dogs around by themselves out in the wild and they go feral, become strays as it were, a lot of them will actually find themselves returning back to that natural instinct and inclinations. However, they still will prefer to scavenge rather than hunt, which is still, again, just lends their hand far more to being a great part of the cleanup crews. Same with cats. I love cats. I am a huge cat fanatic. Vibrating sacks of fur. Fucking, out of the two major types of pets, cats are infinitely superior to the drooling imbeciles we call dogs. Dogs are great at a distance. They need to be someone else's, and then they're okay. They can be pretty great, but cats just, they're not comparable. Cats are clearly superior. And anyone else is, oh, well, that's shoot on sight. It's a firing squad, so. Listen, I don't make the rules. It's just the way it works. But the point is that they're very, very good scavengers. And so, of course, when they end up being abandoned or otherwise are feral strays, they are once again very inclined to become the kind of creature that's going to go and not hunt, but rather scavenge. Sometimes they'll hunt, usually they'll scavenge. Just like coyotes, in fact. They're inclined to do that. So they are infinitely more efficient and superior scavengers and cleanup crew than ants are. It's just a fact. There's so many endless amounts of living things in the natural world that are part of the cleanup crew that the ants are obsolete. They are entirely unnecessary. The only other purpose that ants really seem to serve at this point is aeration. But then again, if they're in the cities, it doesn't help the earth. It doesn't help agriculture. It doesn't help anything. Like, they're not aerating anything. If anything, they're helping you find unsealed portions of your foundation or of your door jams or whatever else. And then once they're there, they stay. And then you usually have to do something super toxic, or you have to use non-stop diatomaceous earth, food grade probably if you're smart. It's despicable. They're so irritating. So they don't even serve that purpose. But even when they do, there's also so many other species out there in the natural order of things, in the natural world, that do a infinitely more, again, efficient and superior job at aerating soil, which is their ants really their only other purpose, at least originally, if not still. And they don't even do a good job or a very efficient job of that. It takes them all, again, a long time, and it takes them hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them in each colony to do it. It's insane. Whereas earthworms are probably the most comparable in size, even though they're still way bigger. Even the tiny little baby ones, the thin ones, are still way bigger than ants. They are infinitely more beneficial in every way to literally every living being at every level, but especially plants. And let me tell you, are they efficient diggers? And they are wildly good at not just being part of the cleanup crew, like ants, and breaking down and eating decaying matter, but on top of that, they're infinitely better and superior and more efficient at, again, aerating the earth, aerating the soil. Infinitely more so. And even like some beneficial beetles are the same way. Some beneficial moths, there is such a thing as those. Yes, there is. Same thing. There's various other beneficial nematodes. There's so many different other little creatures that help aerate. And then you got the bigger ones that are not 100% ground dwelling. You got moles, voles, shrews, ground squirrels, groundhogs, which are also known as woodchucks. You obviously have rabbits, snakes. Snakes are really freaking good. Mice. It goes on and on and on. There is already in the two ways, the two purposes of ants, there is already infinitely superior in every single way, and especially efficiency, at doing both of their jobs. Some of them, like an earthworm, literally do both. And they do them infinitely more superior, and they don't have to have very many, even a square foot, to be able to make quick, efficient work compared to ants. It just doesn't make sense why they are around anymore. And that's really, really, really irritating. It's one of those things that's like, why are you even here? Why are you? And why do you exist? What is your point? You don't even have a purpose anymore. Why are you allowed to exist?
Why are you the way that you are? I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Especially considering, again, there is so many. Obviously, in Infinite's just this one type of ant, in fact. There is so many throughout the entire world. There's just too many of them. And they proliferate way faster than ever. And it's really, really irritating because they don't really have a purpose anymore other than apparently to be a pain in the fucking ass and never go away once you have them. And it's so, so annoying. Now, I'm going to add an addendum to this. There's another insect that I really am irritated by. Believe it or not as much as the ants, even though I am a magnet for them. I don't know if you knew this. It isn't really something that they probably teach, because, I mean, that's kind of weirdly specific, and I don't think most people, unless they're, I don't know what the right term is for insect studies, but insectologists we're just going to stick with, and knowing it's probably wrong. They're probably the only people that are going to learn this stuff, because they're going to look it up themselves, or whatever geeks and freaks and nerds are going to are going to be the type that are interested in these kind of weird details. Or maybe you're just one of those people who are purveyors of wormholes, and by that I mean, I guess, rabbit holes. Then sure. But I guarantee most of you don't know this, and that's the original purpose of Skeeters, is to clean up decaying living matter, in the sense of it was a living being. So not plant matter. So non-plant living beings, basically. Humans, monkeys, lemurs, snakes, deer, doesn't matter. That's what they're there to eat, to help break down. They're part of the cleanup crew, at least that is, sorry. They are not anymore. They used to be. And that was their entire purpose, was at least primarily, if not exclusively, to simply drink the fluids out of and off of decaying corpses. That was their purpose. And that helps, of course, the process of the decay and the breaking down of the remains go much quicker and be also a lot, literally, cleaner. It's a beautiful thing. They had a very good purpose. And they were, that I know of, one of, if not the only species of, or I should say, critter of any kind, that actually, that was their sole purpose and their job. And they were, of course, really good and efficient at it. Well, though sometimes you'll still see them congregate on usually pretty fresh corpses or something, the majority of the time, if you haven't noticed, they clearly have adapted, or if you believe in evolution, evolved, to become extremely lazy by capitalizing the opportunity of congregating mainly around very well-traveled places by people, and or around farms and things like that, because they now have gotten modern day in context. Their purpose is no longer to serve cleanup crew. They don't do that anymore. They're there to be a nuisance and suck living things' blood, apparently, is their objective. Or at least just be a pain in the ass and be overly abundant, like an asshole. There is one other purpose, and it ties back into that last part, of mosquitoes in their modern form. And that is apparently, and this is also something you probably don't know, and it's really weird, but to pollinate. It's actually true. They are proven that they are pollinators. They're one of the pollinating species of insects. Are, yeah, mosquitoes. Don't ask me how. I don't know when or why they developed that, but they did. And see, the reason why this ties back into the prior point is because of the fact that, at least currently, I don't know about back then, I'm hesitant and very skeptical of buying into the idea that maybe even way back, even before us, or when we first were a species that came to be, that they actually bred that way. But at least in the modern context, we understand that, and again, it's been proven, that only the women of the mosquito kind drink blood. It's true. So what I'm trying to say is, violence exclusively against women, please. of the mosquito kind, respectfully, of course. Massacre them. Seriously, they need to die. They are just a pain in the goddamn ass. And apparently, they only drink blood. This is supposedly the case. I don't know if this is like universally confirmed, or if this is actually just the supposition that's been generally noticed and studied, and or I should say noted in studies, that then they're like, oh, it must be universal, and they just generalized it, because that's kind of how even the experts work these days, is they're very fucking lazy. But it's one of those things where it's so weird, but apparently they exclusively drink blood only when they need to, aka they only do it once, usually maybe twice, when they are in the middle of breeding. So in other words, they are drinking blood so they can lay their eggs. That's the only reason. Supposedly, it's only women, and supposedly only the women of mosquito kind only do it occasionally. And of course, what's more insulting and worse is somehow, whatever, whether you're, again, creationist or evolutionary or whatever the trapezoid tetrahedronist, I don't know. Whatever you believe, they have adapted or evolved or whatever, have by far the longest lifespans of mosquitoes. It doesn't matter the breed or the species, whatever you want to call it, refer to them as, of mosquitoes. It's actually, again, verified fact that the women live like twice as long as the dudes do. And the only thing that the dudes do, because they don't drink blood, apparently literally ever, no matter, again, the breed, species, whatever you call it, they are the pollinators of the mosquitoes. So they're there to, I don't know, just be sperm donors and die. That's pretty much it. And so, and I don't know, some sort of a sense of humor, nature, God, whatever, decided, you know what would be really funny? So they're kind of pointless right now. But hear me out. What if, because it's really funny, we make them into a pollinator? And an inefficient one at that. I've sold myself on it. Like, it just seems like a fucking prank. It's the weirdest thing. So, what does that effectively mean for Skeeters? Squitos. Mosquits. It means that they're useless, like ants. They are absolutely and utterly useless. And at this point, I prefer them to not exist. It would be great. But at least mosquitoes, it's still a little, but I can guarantee for these, that the annoying little black ants that haunt us now, I guarantee the world would literally not, even the natural order of things would not suffer if they just stopped existing. I guarantee it. And that's my ant rant / Mosquito rant. And so that's that. So together in power, let's find unity and genocide of mosquitoes and ants. I rest my case.